I'll look for the edition from.
Oh, fuck me.
No, this date doesn't tell me anything.
Like hell it doesn't.
Of Rick's Cafe that Patrick Olson was blamed for. There must be more information about it in the paper. Here's the article about the bombing. The article says that at 12:23 a.m., an explosion completely destroyed Rick's Cafe, a joint on 81st Street near Central Park. 3 people died in the explosion. The cafe's owner, Nick Fantini, 43 years old, married. A woman walking by the joint, Eleanor Guter, 37 years old, teacher, and August Zindler, 58 years old, esteemed archaeology professor at the Civic Museum in New York. Zindler, Professor Zindler, dannazione. It's the same name that was in my dream. So far, these visions have always been correct. Maybe I should visit the Civic Museum in New York. The article says 3 people, the cat, a woman, and Og Zindler, done. So far.
Alright, good. We now have a lead. Let's get the hell out of here.
John's cab.
Where you want to go this time?
The Civic Museum, Central Park.
We see.
Civic Museum of New York. It closed about 3 years ago for some expansion work, but the crisis stopped everything halfway. Since then, it's stayed this way, a mausoleum of our past that no one cares about anymore. This museum has been closed for at least 3 years. The economic crisis has convinced more than one mayor that continuing to invest in the past isn't a good deal. The world of dinosaurs. It's a shame I'm no longer that age where you get excited by seeing the bones of something that died thousands of years ago. Years back, these tanks had water in them. Now they look more like a dump for construction materials. The museum's opening hours. Obviously, they don't offer any night visits. The main entrance to the museum. I seriously doubt they left the doors unlocked. This museum has been the economic climbing scaffolding isn't exactly on the schedule tonight. I don't see anything interesting. Climbing. That's a crazy idea. It doesn't make any sense.
Your mom doesn't make any sense.
Some scaffolding parts. I think I can do without it. There's my reward for having traveled halfway across Manhattan to get here. The door is open, and it certainly wasn't the caretaker who left it like that. The lock was shot in. Whoever it was had to be very interested in something that's inside the museum, or what was inside the museum. I don't need it right now, but when I want to get a tetanus infection, I know where to go. A rusted ladder. I don't think anyone will be too upset if I take a little nighttime tour of the museum. I'll admit that these beasts must have been pretty scary at their time, but nothing compared to an ambitious New York lawyer. A dinosaur's shin bone is just what I was missing for my collection of useless objects. These crates must contain the exhibits that are being moved from the various rooms. These crates, unlike the others, are not labeled. These crates must... A map of ancient Persia. The newspaper article that I found at the police department was about the professor's studies on Persia. I don't see anything interesting here.
Crap.
I don't see anything interesting here. I don't see anything. I don't see anything. I don't see any. I don't see. I don't see. I don't see anything. I don't see. I don't see. I don't see any. These crates must contain. These crates. These crates must contain. Some crates are labeled, but it's too dark to see what's written on them. Let's see. The label says the find in this case comes from Samarra, Iraq. It was displayed in room 13 before it was moved here. Iraq should be in Professor Zindler's area of expertise. I should check on the Islamic map. No. A map. Samarra. That's the same name I read on one of the crates in the atrium, so its contents must be displayed in the Islamic area. It was from room 13. Room 13 must be the old Islamic area, and that's where the professor's office must be. Now I have to find the directions to room 13. Wandering around the museum would not be a good idea. This is the way to the main entrance, but I don't need to go there. This is the way to the various rooms in the museum, but I still have no idea where I should go. The display cases were all emptied. There's nothing inside them. Maps of pre-Columbian America, enormous forests, huge prairies inhabited by tribes of redskins. Then the conquistadors arrived with alcohol, guns, and diseases, and exterminated whatever they couldn't buy. It's evolution, baby.
Yes, tell that to them. I'm sure they'll agree with you, asshole.
These crates must contain... The label says the find in this case comes from Kaole, Tanzania. It was displayed in room 20 before it was moved here. The showcase is empty, probably out of fear that they might have gotten damaged during the work, or that some worker might have decided to take a souvenir home. Now that I know that room 13 is the Islamic area, I shouldn't have any problems finding it, thanks to this map. Good. Now all I have to do is find Professor Zindler's office in room 13. There's nothing of interest in here.
Yeah, I know. Go to the frickin' stairs. Oh.
It wasn't easy, but eventually I made it to my destination. Nice chandelier. It looked great in my office. Crates, probably waiting to be transferred to another room. A long wait considering they've been here for years. Crates. This museum's architect must have gone wild when he designed this room. It's the first time I've seen a water tank in a museum. This water doesn't look... This crate is open. There's nothing inside. It doesn't make any... Even the display cases in this room were emptied. There's just some dust in them. Professor Zindler's office. Lots of books, old photographs, and some museum pieces. The professor's office seems pretty normal. Normal if it weren't for a dead body in the middle of the room. There is no doubt that this is Professor Zindler. It's the same face I saw in the newspaper. His body is cold, but not too much. He can't have been dead more than 7 hours. And that bullet hole in his forehead makes me think that he didn't die of natural causes. There are all kinds of books. Most are about ancient Persia and Middle Eastern civilizations. I don't think it's the right time to start studying the subject. A picture of the Tower of Babel. According to the Bible, mankind started building it to reach God, and God punished them by making everyone speak a different language so that they couldn't finish it. Looks like I still remember something of those catechism lessons my mother made me go to when I was a kid. A map of ancient Mesopotamia. Only other books and photographs of archaeological digs. On the desk, there are some drawings of spirals. They don't seem to have been done by an adult.
How the hell can you tell? Are they done in crayon?
It looks like someone slept on this sofa. The professor is at least 5'7", so he is definitely too tall for this sofa. It means it couldn't have been him using it. Doesn't look like a... I'm not going to pick up every object that I find around. Some books are missing from this shelf, and it looks like they were taken in a hurry. The only books left are those on esotericism. Whatever could have been useful in here. Books on history and archaeology. Some of these are written in German. These must be theology textbooks, given the number of times that the words God and divine recur in them. There's at least a dozen different versions of the Old Testament. Some seem pretty old. There is no doubt that this is Professor Zindler. The newspaper said that he had died during the bombing of Ricky's cafe, so either the professor is back from the dead, or the bombing was just a setup. I think I believe in the second option, even though the first one is definitely very fascinating. Better not touch it. I'm already being investigated for Sean's death. Leaving my fingerprints on a second dead body wouldn't be a great idea. It's an archaeology degree given to Professor August Zindler. There's a dictaphone on the table. It looks like it was used recently. This is the support you put the wax cylinders on in order to record a message, or listen to it again. I can't use it without the wax cylinder. A dictaphone. This device can record a few minutes of voice recordings on wax cylinders. I don't see why I should. Only other books. I think it's fine where it is. Vases, tablets, and some other objects that some researcher would call fascinating. I'll just call them knickknacks. I don't think it's the right time to start studying the subject. There's something on the ground. It's a wax cylinder for a dictaphone. It looks like there's a recording on it. If I could get the pieces in the right order, I could listen to it. I better use this.
looks like it should fit. Which of course means it doesn't.
It together. Now I just need to find a way to make them stick together.
Ugh, that took way longer than necessary.
Now the pieces fit. Yes, if I melt the wax on the edges, the various pieces should stick together without any problem. It looks like all the pieces are attached well. There's a dictaphone on the... It should be okay this way. Now I only have to turn it on. And now let's see what's on the cylinder. The cylinder is running, and the voice of a woman with a French accent comes from the dictaphone's small speaker. She introduces herself as Michelle Nicholas from the Congregation of Five. The message was recorded for the professor and explains the details of a plan to get him and the girl out of the museum. According to the plan, a man sent from the congregation will come to pick up the professor and bring him and the girl to a safe house. The recording ends with the woman thanking the professor for having taken the girl away from a city with an incomprehensible name. A French woman, a congregation with a pretentious name, and a professor that kidnaps girls. A lot of information for my already confused head.
They couldn't have the message tell us that itself?
So it was the professor who brought the girl here. This explains many things. Sean was probably one of the men who was supposed to get the professor and the girl, according to Michelle Nicholas's plan. But something must have gone wrong, and Zindler is the one who paid the price for it. I remember an organization called the Congregation of Five being mentioned in the incision. I'd better do some research on Michelle Nicholas. Maybe the police archives could be helpful this time as well. Better not touch it.
Let me guess. We have to go somewhere.
The police department, Hoboken.
Okay.
The police archives. As they say, open sesame. looks like there's a file on Michelle Nicholas, too. 607-0121. File 607-0121, Michelle Nicholas. Here's Michelle Nicholas's file. Nicholas's profile. As I had guessed from the name, she has French origins. Odd. Under crimes, there's nothing but a vague, possible involvement in a criminal organization. That's a pretty weak reason to open a file on someone. These are reports filled out by different officers. It looks like they were tailing Michelle Nicholas. It doesn't happen often in New York, but when it does, the police make sure that at least a couple officers are following the suspect. And it looks like Malone was the one to request the stakeout, at least judging by the signature on these pages. This seems to be the report on the last sighting of Michelle Nicholas. She arrived in New York on October 28, 1933, and she disappeared on November the 5th, the same day of the staged death of Professor Zindler. According to the report, in that week, she was renting a room, and surprise, she chose Slavansky's apartments to hide in. If you have little money and a not exactly immaculate criminal record, it's the best place to go. Who knows, maybe that stingy Russian Slavansky might be able to give me some useful information about our runaway Frenchwoman.
Ah, you again. Where we go this time?
Essex Street, Lower East Side.
We see.
What can I do for you, Del Nero?
Have you ever heard of Michelle Nicholas?
Michelle Nicholas. That name doesn't mean anything to me.
A French woman. She stayed in your apartments last November.
There is a lot of turnover here, Del Nero. I can't remember everyone who passes through.
I've lived here for more than 2 years, Slavansky. There's no way a French woman would have passed through this hovel of losers without attracting some attention.
I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested in rent money. Why are you looking for Michelle Nicholas?
I'm looking for a wife. I opened the phone book and found her name.
Your sarcasm will get you into trouble, sooner or later, Del Nero.
Now tell me something I don't know. Michelle Nicholas. I know she stayed here, so stop lying to me.
Okay, she stayed here for about 1 month. I only saw her when she moved in and out. She paid her rent in advance, and I never had to see or talk to her. She had apartment on top floor, number 607. Happy now?
Do you know what she did for a living, or why she rented the apartment from you?
I'm not kind of guy who butts around in private lives of people. That's your job, detective.
I'd like to see apartment 607.
Sorry, Del Nero, but apartment 607 isn't available right now.
Why?
It's being renovated.
You decided to renovate an apartment? I have a hard time believing that.
I don't care if you believe or not. You're not going to see apartment.
Slavansky won't let me in that room. I know that. I'll have to find another way to get in there. Goodbye, Slavansky.
Goodbye, Del Nero.
This is the fire escape. Knowing the high standards of this building, they might collapse as soon as you put a foot on them. I don't see any fires around. The Slavansky apartments. The last refuge. It's certainly not the best place to open. Actually, it's not that bad. My office is behind these windows. Small, dirty, a and far from welcoming. Since they abolished prohibition, advertisements for booze have filled the city streets. What was once considered public enemy number one is now our best friend. The elections for mayor of New York are coming up. All the roads are plastered with idiotic slogans. Politicians. I hate those people. Trash. My office is being... Call me boring? I'm not putting my hands in there. Vote for Mayor Smith. Vote for a better New York. Great slogan. A three... Slavonsky sucks. It was definitely the kids from the third floor. The only thing they do besides yelling and playing in the halls is annoy Slavonsky with this kind of stuff. Apartment 612. Apartment 607. This is the apartment where Michelle Nicholas was hiding. I don't believe that lie about renovations. Slavonsky is definitely hiding something.